say, I just feel like every time we have our conversations together, our vibrations, we just like 10x, and we're like cheesing from ear to ear, and just like
And I was
so
like,
much
was my
joy.
smile too big?
So I would love to just have a cozy conversation, just like our experience, our working relationship. I feel like, I've been in your corner for several years now, and just
Yes.
to witness your growth. But if you could just take me back to even where you were when you found me, discovered me, the rabbit hole, and just how our work unfolded together.
So honestly, I was trying to think back on this, and I think I first stumbled upon you from B School, like your B School interview with Marie Forleo, and then I started following Simple Green Smoothies. And then I knew you had kind of transitioned out of that and was starting your own thing. And in 2017, that's when I was launching my book. And I reached out to you. It was just kind of this, I think, like feeling or knowing like I need to reach out to her and see if there's some way that you could help me kind of, at the time I was thinking I wanted to launch a personal brand around the book. And so how best to do that, and kind of your ideas around that. And then it transitioned to like kind of away from the book a bit, and more towards my day job, which is running Vivian Lou. And man, I think we worked together for over 2 years, and you played such a pivotal role in so many like huge transitions for the company. So I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like you were my confidant, and like you helped me navigate some tricky situations and like how to exit out of relationships with grace. And then you always kind of like helped mirror always what I was saying. Like you repeated back to me what I was saying. And I was like, interesting that I said it that way. And this, our conversations have always just been so enlightening. And I loved working with you because it was not only fun, but I learned so much about how to gracefully operate in business and about myself too, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Can you just share, in our time together, what were some of those like milestones that you're super proud of that you accomplished? And I feel like I take no credit for anything that I do with my clients. Like I'm here to just like hold the space, hold the bigger vision. But there were like some milestones. I mean, you did finish that book. There were so many things that you created in that time. So I'm wanting to give you like space to like humble brag for a moment of like, what were some of those milestones for you that you would celebrate along the way in us journeying together?
Yeah. So, I think a lot of, I would say relationships in general was a huge milestone. And within that kind of bucket, there are a lot of people that came in and out of that. But like like I had mentioned, you helped me gracefully kind of reverse out of some relationships that I was in that weren't serving me and weren't serving the business. And so how to have those conversations, without letting your ego or your feelings get in the way. Then you also introduced me to some phenomenal partners that I used for years in helping grow Vivian Lou. So like from a relationship standpoint, I feel like you played some real, like that's a huge milestone. Another one is the launch of the book. And then growing Vivian Lou. And I feel like during our time, like there were a lot of ebbs and flows in my like passion for the business, and then me doing it myself versus relying on other people, and like how to think about relationships, like bringing on big partners and big affiliates, and whether or not that was a good fit. So like helping define those, which played a huge role in Vivian Lou's growth over the last couple of years. Launching a new brand, and like how to kind of still remain faithful, I guess, to Vivian Lou while still like cheating by by launching a new company, and giving me permission to do that too, because oftentimes I feel like as an entrepreneur you're like, I really shouldn't be doing this, and then like bouncing ideas off of you, you're like, well, that's okay, like just don't keep, like, take your eye off the ball, this is totally legit, and in line with kind of my personality and all that kind of stuff. So Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things that happened during our time together for sure
Yeah.
that were so impactful for the growth of the business.
And what was that feeling like for you, because I can totally relate to that transition when you kind of start to have this little nudge that is drawing you to, I remember you were writing the book for, a milestone birthday and desiring that personal brand. And we got to the heart of like your passion, your mission, and how you want to help more women and taking that step forward, right? That next right step. And what was that feeling? What did you feel with, like, I would love for you to just describe more about the like cheating on the business that you have, while
Yeah.
also giving yourself permission to like, what was the tension or the feelings that were going on inside your head as you were exploring, navigating, adding like another, because you've actually started a couple of other side projects in our time together as I'm thinking about it. So I'd love for you to just talk about kind of the feelings and the emotions and maybe even some of the challenges that came up from even considering things outside of what was your main primary income producer.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of human nature for an entrepreneur to have, oh, I have this other idea, I have this other idea, and how to allow allow yourself the space to pursue those without sacrificing your bread and butter and the thing that kind of supports you through these ideas. So the first one really was launching the book, and then Vivian Lou, and then launching kind of a personal brand. And how is that a standalone brand? Do I integrate that into Vivian Lou? And I was so being called to do that. And you really helped me like break it down into like chunks. Like, you don't have to launch a brand at first. You honestly can start small and do Facebook Lives. Or if you don't like Facebook Lives, you can pre-record them and launch them on YouTube. You help me kind of explore a lot of different avenues. And so I often came to you with like fears and was like, I'm so scared to do this. I don't know why. Like, and you're like, okay, it's okay. But like, here's how you chunk it so you're not so overwhelmed. And you really helped like honor those ideas and then fit that, like found a way to fit them into like my personality. And it ended up, so I ended up not really launching a personal brand, which in the long run was the best thing for not integrating it into Vivian Lou for a variety of reasons. But I feel like that may be kind of the next chapter. And so it's fun to know that we've done that work, and I can pick up that work whenever I need to on the next iteration of whatever that looks like. And then I launched a new brand this past summer called Taug. And you were there too, like granting me permission, like, look, as long as you don't lose sight on Vivian Lou, like go for it. Like this is like calling you to launch a new brand, launch a new business, do it. And you helped me with like exploring options for names and branding. And it was a lot of fun. So I think as an entrepreneur, it's so nice to kind of brainstorm and coach with a fellow entrepreneur you've redefined yourself so many times that you understand how people want to do that and how to do that gracefully. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned your personality. So how would you describe like your personality or your entrepreneurial work style? Because I feel like the type of clients that I work with have a certain unique unicorn blueprint in how they do work, which it sometimes feels like you're doing it in a different way than maybe other people are. So I would love for you to just describe what is your work style, personality, and
Sure.
being an entrepreneur.
So, I kind of love to buck the system. Like that's just kind of my approach. And I'm a kind of a hands-on entrepreneur too. So I like designing my website and like getting in there and toying with that. I do my own Facebook ads and I love diving in there and like figuring out how to work the algorithm. And so I often take what people suggest is the right way to do things and kind of just sit with it and see if it sounds like total BS, if it sounds like it would work for me. And more often than not, this is awful to say, I kind of do the opposite and just like see how that feels. So I'm just kind of an entrepreneur that like loves to digest what the mainstream is doing and then kind of turning it on its side and doing it my own way. So that's just kind of how I like to show up. I'm extremely proud of my brands and extremely proud of my story as an entrepreneur, but I like to tell that story in like interviews and podcasts, not like stepping out in front of the brand being like, here I am, you know, kind of a thing. So, I don't know. I like kind of being more behind the scenes, but then sharing my story when it's appropriate for specific audiences, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there ever any like fears or hesitations that you've had with being like a buck the system type of entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I, early on in my kind of journey as an entrepreneur, I struggled a lot with like self-doubt, self-worth. Am I good enough? All of this kind of stuff. And then, honestly, what has helped me the most is like putting on the blinders, like just do you, like you do it your way, figure it out. If it fails, it's a lesson learned, and then go try what the mainstream says, you know? So, there's a lot of self-doubt when it comes to that, but, you just like, you just kind of have to push yourself. And I feel like the areas where my business has been less successful is when I've relied on other people's expertise, not my own gut. And so like trusting my gut and following my intuition, regardless of how absurd or off the mark it may seem, has always ended up benefiting me and the business more so than following so-called experts and gurus' advice.
Yeah. And did you have any hesitations in working with me and kind of, because I know you feel called to work with certain people, and you also have like great people in your corner. You've got like a whole team of amazing resources and support, and just curious if there was any hesitations that may have come up in like having me in your corner as one of those core team members to support you.
Absolutely not. The only hesitation was how could I use you? Because I came to you with my book, and I think early on, very quickly, it became apparent like the book is one thing, but then there was so much more that you could help me with. So the only hesitation I had was, would you want to work with me with just this like book project? And you were like, heck yeah, let's do this. Like, this is awesome. So like, there was no hesitation, at least from my observation on your part. It was like, I just didn't know whether or not you would want to work with me. And so that was it. But honestly, like as soon as it became apparent that I don't know, you just showed up in this very interesting time, and it was just like, I was drawn to you, and there was no hesitation. Yeah. In fact, the only hesitation was, should I reach out? Because I think on your website it said you weren't taking any more clients.
Oh yes, I think.
Yeah,
I think it was a wait list or something.
Yeah, I'm reaching out anyway.
And I'm always fascinated. You know, it's so funny because when I I have my right hand Michelle, who's been with me for over 5 years. She's amazing, and she's like, do you think this person's going to continue? And my always assumption is like, they've gotten everything that they need from me. Like, I don't think they're going to return. And like, but we re-upped like 2 additional times for like our 10-month coaching support. So I'm just curious, what was what was the benefit that you found in continuing the support during the seasons and transitions of your business and ideas?
I think, honestly, this may sound like super woo-woo, but like I was in like my first big year in Vivian Lou, was when I wrote the book, and then I launched it. And I feel like that was another book continuing to be written, and those chapters hadn't been closed yet. And so I was like, I still needed you as honestly like a guide and a confidant to like help me navigate like those ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship. And the only reason that like we're not continuing this year is because, as you know, I'm have a severe change in direction. And so there are other people that have shown up to help guide me that direction. But if I were going to continue on this kind of momentum, you for sure would have been continued in that path. Cause that's where you existed for me, was in this like middle section of the story.
Yeah. And I feel like transitions are it's such like an intense time where like our confidence is shaken, our clarity feels fuzzy, and we're just like trying to find our way. And I remember when we had the call of like, I'm making a big leap, a big transition. I was like, oh my goodness, like I can feel the freedom and the lightness of like, I think this is what your soul was like trying to like,
tell me, yes.
Let
It's so true. Like, it's just, and it's so funny. And you and I have talked about this too, but how like players show up in people's story, and you just have to be open to like welcoming them in and out, like as their chapters have come to a close. And it's just like, it's just interesting how people arrive and then kind of just come and go into the story of entrepreneurship, especially in my opinion. So
yeah. And with in that, I think it was 2017, which was like your highlight year, your book is out, like describe like what your business was like during that time of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So at that time, I believe I was just still offering one version of our insole. It was a simple, super easy business model where like literally I would launch a Facebook ad, drive people to my Facebook or to my website, and they'd buy my insoles, and away they went. Facebook, the landscape of Facebook has changed tremendously since then. So it's just been a little bit of a learning curve, and, you know, moving with the algorithm and all of that kind of stuff. We've since added some additional new insoles and all of that kind of stuff. So back in 2017, I mean, it was just so, it felt so clean, and like, just, it was so easy and simple and fun and all this kind of stuff. And then the book came out, which was really helping to inspire women to take their first step towards whatever their dream is. And then things just got messy, like personally, like, I know this is sound weird, but like my dog died. Like it was like things were just throwing me off left and right. And so like, it was so comforting to have you in my corner to be like, it's okay. Like these things happen. Let's figure this out. Let's get people in. Let's try this agency. You know, it was just like, it was so refreshing to have someone like you in my corner as I navigated all these things.
Yeah, I totally feel that. And I remember, you know, we did an in-person retreat with like a small group of other founders, and you were like just giving yourself permission to dream so big. And I just think it's so beautiful, like that it just feels endless, like your capacity to show up and create whatever it is that you want to create, like is able to have that.
Yeah. And man, I loved that trip. That was such a fun, that was just so much. It's just so inspiring to sit in a room with other entrepreneurs and founders and all, regardless of what stage of business they're in, and regardless of what stage of business you're in. I feel like oftentimes when people look at masterminds, they're like, well, she's a lower level than I am. I don't need, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. They don't even have to be in your same niche. They don't have to be at the same level. Like there's so much to gain from just people sitting in a room with a common like purpose and mission. And it's awesome. And to be inspired by other people's dreams too, that when they like speak them out loud, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I love that you share that, because you have been in group coaching experiences or masterminds where it's like, oh, we're at X figures, you know, we're running 7-figure business this or X figure that, or, you know, we have all of these different external accomplishments. Can you share a little bit more? Because I remember like even in quarterly planning sessions, you know, you would get inspired by something like, wait, what? Yeah. How's that strategy working? And like just the benefit of being in the room with people who are just creating and putting work out into the world. I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about
Sure.
that.
So I participated, like attended several events specifically focused on like e-commerce and, you know, product e-commerce and all of that kind of stuff, which is great. And there's so many tactics to be learned in those areas. But oftentimes I feel like the people don't allow, like, they don't share as openly because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to share all my trade secrets. When you're in a room with other people who are in different industries or have different products to sell or do it in a different way, I feel like there's like a different energy about it where they're not guarded, and they share the way that they work, and they share how they brainstorm new audiences, or go after new clients, or whatever the case may be. And so, I'm an e-commerce. I sell a product on e-commerce on Shopify. It is like a true e-commerce business. But the women and the people who I've gotten inspired by most are like realtors or coaches for teachers, or it's these that are I would never ever have sought out masterminding or coaching with these people, but the way that they think about their business provides a completely different perspective, which is so inspiring. And you kind of come into your business with different ideas when you hear what other people are doing.
Yeah. And you mentioned like the common purpose. Like, what do you think needs to be congruent or in alignment, even if it's diverse business industries or diverse revenue markers, milestones, like what do you think actually makes that in-person experience or being around diverse entrepreneurs? Like, what is the commonality there?
Yeah, so I think everyone shows up to these events, or even like Zoom calls. I don't think they need to be like true in person. Like, I mean, I think Zoom events, excuse me, are sometimes just as inspiring as in person too. But it's that you're there to learn, and you're there because everyone is on a mission to be better, grow bigger, impact more people. It's not like, hey, how do I get to $5 million this year? It's, hey, how do I impact people the most? How do I get this in front of the people who need to see it? How do I, as a person and as a company, expand? It's not just like, you need to make, your conversion rate needs to be this. None of that comes into play, really. It's more of like, dream bigger, think outside the box, like push yourself to come at it from a different perspective. And I feel like that collective energy, again, just compounds on each other. And it's like this exponential boost in, I don't know, just, it's incredible. I love actually, I prefer to mastermind and be in coaching groups with people not in e-commerce because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there, what do you feel drives you the most, like in your business, that moves you?
So when I first launched Vivian Lou, I was losing money. Like, it wasn't about money. I was truly on a mission to help women wear high heels longer without pain. Like, that was it. And then I continued to focus on that as the driving mission. And I had an epic year in 2017. And then all of a sudden the bar was set, and I was chasing a number and chasing money and chasing all of these metrics. And all of a sudden it just, like, again, it was this wave of emotion and roller coaster, because I wasn't staying true to like, yeah, like I'm not driven. Money is nice, and money does provide for freedom, but my currency is peace and freedom and fun and like helping people. And so this year is actually the first year where I'm like stepping back into, I'm not chasing a number. I'm not chasing a metric. I truly want to get our amazing insoles in front of the women who need them. That's it. And it's funny because with that like mission and purpose, my Facebook ads have started to become profitable again. And like, they're more in line with the 2017 numbers, not the 2018, 2019 numbers. So yeah, it's just, it's interesting how all of that comes into play.
Are you open to sharing what that number was in 2017 and what goals you kept trying to chase, and then
Sure.
resetting
Yeah.
to
I actually wrote them down. I actually wrote them down for another purpose, so I have them right here. So, in 2016, I was hell-bent on figuring out Facebook ads like myself. And so towards the end of 2016, again, Facebook was a different animal back then, but I ended that year with $650-ish thousand in sales. 2017, I ended with just shy of $3 million in sales. 2018, $4.5 million in sales, but I only drove half of those. I had an affiliate partner drive the other half, which meant profitability was lower. So while
Mm-hmm.
top line number was high, profitability was lower. And then in 2019, we finished with just over $3 million, and profitability not good because the affiliate partner, while amazing and taught me so much and showed me how much potential there is for this product, their performance started to plummet, and I made huge inventory buys in the beginning of the year anticipating good performance. So it's just lesson learned, and and things that you go through. So yeah, I mean, the numbers are bigger than what they were in 2017, but the profitability isn't as nice as it was in 2017. And so again, I'm done chasing the top line number. I'm chasing a profitability number, and honestly, like a joy metric. Like, is this bringing me
Yes.
joy? Am I having fun? If this isn't fun, then like figure out a way to have fun again. Because in 2017, like I literally jumped out of bed to work on my business every day. I was so excited. Like it was so
Yeah.
much fun.
And I love that you said your currency is peace and freedom, because I really held that vision for you in our
Yes.
whole work of like, oh, reset, realign, refocus, like whatever we needed to do, because I think it's really important. Sometimes, we can get with coaches and they're not out for like, what are your highest values and what really matters to you, and they can get excited for the potential in your business and
Yep.
steer you in a way where you feel disconnected, disengaged, burnt out, have a bloated team that you never wanted in the first place.
Right.
So someone really understanding like the heart of what drives you, I think it matters so
Oh,
much.
it so matters. And I feel like I came to you so many times with, hey, I have this opportunity to do this. And like you were a mirror, and like, but this is what you have always said. You don't want employees. You don't want complication. Your currency is peace and freedom. I'm like, yes. And so that is a absolute no. So like, because I have a tendency of getting really excited about opportunities and like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Let's do this. And so you were always like that, like sounding board to be like, that sounds super cool. And like, you were able to like pull the emotion out of it, like super cool. But does it check these 3 boxes? And more often than not, it was like, nope. So it was like, like, okay, simple. We're not going to do that, and it's, and again, I keep going back to, I know Vivian Lou could be so much bigger than what it currently is, but I would be miserable. And so it was so good to have you being that sounding board. Cause like I said, money isn't my currency. It's peace and freedom, and what allows me to live the way I like to live and make a living through my member's
Yeah.
business. So
Yes, I
yeah.
love that. What do you feel like was your favorite part of our work together? I know you shared about like getting out of, some tricky situations and navigating relationships gracefully. But if you can think of like the highlight of what was most impactful, most helpful for you.
Yeah. Honestly, like I feel like our phone calls were different every time we talked, because I came with like different, so like I feel bad for you because you were so like not prepared for what I was like, oh my gosh, like, and we're talking about this today. And so like but you always, I would say I always looked forward to talking to you, because I knew I would leave our phone call more peaceful, with a clear direction as to where I needed to go and what I needed to focus on. And so like, I mean, there are so many things. Like, I feel like every phone call was different and had different takeaways. Just given where I was that month, or given what I had dealt with that week, or whatever the issue is, or the idea that had popped into my head. So, I mean, you were just kind of a constant, and I knew every time I was going to talk to you, I would leave again, like more settled, with a clear direction, like not jumping off diving boards that had no water at the bottom of the pool. So
What would you say are like the range of things that we did talk about on those calls? Because sometimes I have a hard time describing like what it is
yeah.
that I'm able to do, because I can flow and meet you wherever you are
Where?
in your business. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what were some of those range of things that we?
Okay. So I often, so one of the things was how to navigate other relationships with other folks in your business. So having conversations about firing people, exiting contracts, deciding, thinking you're going to move in one direction, yet you go in another direction, um, building a personal brand, but within your personal kind of box. So you knew exactly where my fears were and what I didn't and would not do in terms of like building a personal brand. So you would always come with ideas how to fit within my guidelines. So you always had like creative ideas on how to play into that and still being authentic to who I was. And then exploring, like you would always help brainstorm ideas like, okay, well, if you want to do this, like even just for a new business, okay, let's talk through business names, business ideas, branding options, help brainstorm like other brands that you might want to mirror, or you like their branding. Then I would come to you and be like, I'm really struggling with X. Like, let's just say it's Pinterest. And you're like, you have like a Rolodex of people that you can just be like, oh, I know exactly who you need to talk to. And so it's like your Rolodex of like all of the experts that like exist in that space, and doing really like nurturing introductions to other agencies or coaches or whatever the case may be. What else? I mean, again, if I were struggling with anything in the business, you would always like bring it back to what my core mission was. And you're like, how does this help you serve women? How does this help you stay true to yourself? How does this help you do X? So I don't know. It was honestly this, like, I don't even know, like, are you a business guide? Are you a business coach? Are you like, I don't even know what to call you, because I'm like, you're so much.
I know one time you're like business, was it like godmother or
fairy
or
godmother. You're a business fairy godmother. Because honestly, you were like, is she my therapist? Is she like, it's like, I don't want to do this. Okay, relax. Let's figure out how you can get out of this. It's
yeah.
like,
I mean, we've written emails.
yeah.
On
It's like you help me write emails. You help me read through contracts. Like, I mean, it was just yeah. It was all over the place. I'm so thankful for you.
So would you recommend me to other business owners, and what would you say to someone who is considering working with me?
Undoubtedly. I think any entrepreneur who struggles with, I mean, you've done it all. You've like provided a service. You've had a physical space. You've done e-commerce. Now you're doing like coaching and stuff. Like honestly, any business model for an entrepreneur who feels stuck or needs someone to help guide them along like their business path, but still keeping the true essence of the person. Like you said earlier, I feel like there are a ton of business coaches, but they have their own formula and they kind of force you into their formula. Like, no, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, regardless of whether or not it makes you feel super uncomfortable. Like, you help navigate business issues while still truly understanding and remaining authentic to the person who has to deliver that business or deliver those messages. So I think anyone who's struggling in their business, who feels like they could use some guidance in wherever they're struggling while still remaining true to themselves, should come to you.
Yeah. And with that, because you're a busy entrepreneur, like we would have conversations where you're like, I'm at like Good Morning America, like in the elevator, like you were like, you'd be like, I'm getting an oil change. I'm at swimming pool practice. So what would you say to people who are running, big businesses, have families, have meetings and calls? Like, and they're just like, I don't even think I have time to have like a coach in my corner. Like what?
Yeah. So first of all, you bring up a good point, because you have all of those things too. And they mean just as much to you, if not more, than your business. Like you take into account the whole picture, not just the business. Like, yes, you are a mom. Yes, you are a wife. Yes, you have furry friends, like the whole thing. Yes, you have to find time to do all of the general manager housework of stuff, and so, honestly, it will quickly become a priority for people once they realize how valuable it is to have you in their corner. Like it was, regardless of where I was, I'm like, I'm not missing my call. Like, no, this is not going to happen. We're having this call because I need you. Yeah. So it's not a time struggle at all to work with you. In fact, like I said, like it was a call that I looked forward to and would not miss because it was so impactful and powerful.
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
Is there, as we wrap up, and like I just want to like hug you, and I hope that we can do like a retreat together or something. And like we need to dream and plan your next level vision.
Thing.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Just for anyone who's like questioning or on the fence, that this is like a no-brainer. This will be one of the best decisions you make in your business, for sure. Hands down. Yeah.
Awesome. I love you to pieces, Abby. And I'm so excited to see what your next step to something more is. This is what you create for other people, but I just feel like you are writing your next book, and it's been just such an honor to witness like your joy and your commitment to peace and freedom and your family, and soaking up your time in Mexico, and just it's like getting to see your new fur baby, like all of those things. You're just like a bright, vibrant human being in the world. And I know whatever you create next is going to be so fulfilling and also mission driven to really take care of people.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, when I turn that corner and when I need, like, I got to get this thing done. And when this thing is done, I'm doing a deep dive into what is next. And you're going to be on that ride with me for sure.
Yes. Thank you, Abby.
Yes.